everybody, and welcome back to the Zeldudes podcast.
Today, we're talking about our dream direct sequels for a Legend of Zelda game.
And many more things in this episode of the Zeldudes Mailbag. So yeah, we got a question from RoboMage1 over on YouTube, who said, "Hey dudes, congrats on becoming dads. Question. If they were going to make a new game that was explicitly connected to any previous game in the series, what would you be interested in? For example, I would love a new game in the child hero timeline that expands on and potentially combines some of the lore of Majora and the Twilight. The fact that Midna's mask bears a strong resemblance to Majora's face makes me want to see if there's a story there, and this could be something either between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, or after Twilight Princess as well." So, Luke, what do you think about that idea? What do you think about direct sequels in Zelda as a whole? Because they're kind of rare. Obviously, they mentioned Majora's Mask, and recently we got Tears of the Kingdom as a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild. But they're not super common. So yeah, talk to me about direct sequels. What do you think?
I mean, I'd say some of my favorite games are the direct sequels, actually, when I think about it. Phantom Hourglass, I absolutely love as well. That's one that comes to mind. I feel like people forget that's a direct sequel.
True, I didn't even mention that one.
Yeah. Zelda 2, I'm kidding.
Yeah?
But it is.
I mean, you're not wrong. Same Link, same Hyrule, just expanded. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I forget that literally you can visit the original Hyrule in Zelda 2. It's not appreciated.
It's like that one little corner, like the bottom left corner of the map is the entire overworld for Zelda 1 just kind of crammed down, because it does that kind of like Square Enix Final Fantasy thing where the overworld map is kind of miniaturized and, rather than one-to-one scale, as you can assume Zelda 1's world is.
Yep, but I don't think direct sequels are necessary. I think, let's be honest, I think Tears of the Kingdom is an example of Nintendo isn't the best when it comes to making direct sequels, because there's a lot of loose ends, plot holes, things that don't actually connect. I think one of the biggest issues people had with Tears of the Kingdom is how a lot of characters didn't recognize you, how there just seemed like there's too much missing things from Breath of the Wild now into Tears of the Kingdom. So having Zelda games kind of start anew and just be loosely tied together is definitely the safest way, but it doesn't mean I don't want a direct sequel. And obviously for me, I mean, as the comment mentioned, RoboMage, I immediately think of what's it called? The Hero Shade, wanting an actual story to it. I feel like most Zelda fans want that. And I also think of Sean, Major Link's series on that, how essentially we get what's supposed to piece together from Majora's Mask all the way to Twilight Princess, or at least until Link becomes the Hero Shade. And that would probably be the coolest thing. I mean, honestly, screw an Ocarina of Time remake. Give us the Ocarina of Time
just give us
prequel.
Right? Because it's interesting in that there's kind of very few examples of kind of such obvious holes or kind of missing elements of storytelling in the Zelda timeline. Because obviously Zelda storytelling is always kind of very vague and leaves a lot up to the player's interpretation. But with the Hero of Time's journey in particular, we see it begin in Kokiri Forest in Ocarina of Time. We see him travel to Termina in Majora's Mask. And then we see it end. We see him kind of as this lingering spirit in Twilight Princess, which, if his story had just ended with him leaving Termina in Majora's Mask and then we never saw anything about the Hero of Time again, that would be a kind of complete narrative. But then by giving him this extra ending in Twilight Princess, it opens up all these other questions, like what happened between him leaving Termina and him becoming this one-eyed sort of armored knight figure that wants to pass on his knowledge to his successor in Twilight Princess. And I mean, you already mentioned Major Link Sean, his Hero's Purpose series. We've talked about it a few times on the show. We've had Sean on, so check that episode out if you haven't listened to it. But he's got a whole animated series on YouTube covering this exact time period, because it's such an interesting gap in the Zelda story. And as RoboMage points out, that would be a really interesting place to get another game. I think if we're talking about games we'd like to see get direct sequels in a Tears of the Kingdom way, as in would like to follow one of these links on another journey directly following one of these games, I can't think of any better examples than following Majora's Mask's Link, the Hero of Time, into whatever comes after that, because it's so interesting.
Yep, and I think the reason why is kind of like what you mentioned. It's because this is the hero that we actually saw more of. It didn't just kind of end on the whole, and they lived happily ever after, and we're not supposed to know what happens next. They're like, no, this hero continued on, and hell, waited for the next hero so they can pass on their knowledge to them. And it's like, but why? Why though?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want to know
exactly.
why.
Yeah.
Give us the juicy in between details, because every other Link, at least when it comes to the end of his journey, we just know it's, again, the cliche happily ever after. You don't really think much about it, but this Link clearly didn't have a happily ever after, and if he did, he was resentful to some degree because he didn't want to pass on, right? Or wasn't it, I mean, let's be honest, afterlife in Zelda, or in really any fictional media, it's kind of hard to decipher,
Yeah.
But
it's a weird one. I think because in the I think it's in Hyrule Historia, it mentions that the hero's shade regrets not being remembered as a hero or something. But I'm sure that that's a mistranslation or kind of misinterpretation. Because I've always thought that doesn't sound very much like Link, who's this kind of eternally selfless hero figure. It doesn't sound like him to kind of, lament the fact that people didn't look up to him and he didn't have statues built of him like he has in the adult timeline. It is a tragedy from that perspective that he leaves the timeline in which he would go on to be remembered. But just on a personal character level for Link, it's never really landed well with me that he would kind of be upset about that to the point where he's this lingering spirit. It seems that more so that the case is that he just wants to... He regrets the fact that he's not been able to pass on his skills and his knowledge, sort of thing, That seems to be a more selfless position to come from for the hero's shade. But still, like I said, it leaves this gap in his story. We don't really know how he got to where he got to, what the story about that golden armor he wears is, or, why his wolf appears as the golden wolf, or that there's so many questions
even
about
disguising
the hero's shade
as a golden wolf. Why wolf? Is it because he knew the next hero would become a beast, or like, is that how? Maybe
I assume. Yeah,
maybe like, this is the
like
only
along
way
the lines of
we can communicate, or you'd recognize me or something. I don't come off friendly. I don't know, but I have two things.
I've always assumed.
Okay, go ahead.
Wait, on the wolf, really quick. I've always assumed it was kind of like the Link becomes a wolf because in some way his like inner spirit is represented as that animal. And I always like to think that if, say, you had another person with the Triforce of Courage that wasn't Link, say, we talked last podcast about Legend of Colin. If we had Colin with the Triforce of Courage, I'd like to think that he'd take on the form of another animal. Yeah. Like you say in the last podcast, giraffe.
Or a horse. No, a horse would be more fitting.
Or a horse would make sense, yeah. But then it seems that, the hero's shade obviously takes on the form of a wolf because he's another Link. That's it. Just seems to be Link's spirit animal in that sort of way. But sorry, no, I cut you off. You had two things to share.
Two things. Okay. I just want to discuss with you, and just in general with the comments about the hero shade. While we're on it, don't worry. We'll make sure to also talk about maybe a different direct sequel we could explore. But let's be real. We care about
this one's just
shade.
interesting.
This is definitely the fan favorite, including ours. So first thing would be, why is this Link, if resentful, if just, whatever it may be, like you said, because it's a little bit muddied on if Link actually does feel that way or not, that being the hero shade, why would he need to pass on his knowledge when no other Link has done that? They're just trying to figure it out. And two, you may say, well, it's because the hero spirit, he knows inside of him, he will remember, or he will be able to just, pick it up like muscle memory, go back to what he once was. That's why, you see Link kind of do a lot of similar mannerisms, or like, the fanfare.
Yeah.
It's I like how they do that. It's like, the spirit of the hero is within him. He's kind of reflecting his past selves. But like, if the spirit is in the hero shade, how's there a spirit in TP Link? How does that work?
Yeah. Well,
are they the same spirit?
Yeah, so there's very few examples. In fact, I'm trying to think, and I can only think of one other example of where you've had kind of two different Links existing at the same time. And the only other one that unless I'm blanking on an important one, but either way, the one that I'm thinking of at the moment is only kind of is implied that Gramps from A Link Between Worlds is a previous Link. You know, so he wears green. Obviously, he doesn't wear the hat and everything, but he's very, very old, and he fights just like Link when you battle him. He's the final boss of. You might remember the name of that challenge. I can't remember he has that mini-game challenge that you can do, and I can't remember what. But either way, you fight Gramps at the end of it, right? He's like the final boss of that, and he fights exactly like Link. The implication is that he is probably the Link from A Link to the Past, which is so cool. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know about the kind of the spirit of the hero thing, because it's a little bit of a, I don't know, I suppose it's difficult to pin down exactly what the spirit of the hero is. Is this sort of a kind of ethereal element that the Links have. Yeah. We had Skitty Bitty on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and they had this awesome theory that I hadn't heard before, which is that the spirit of the hero is just the player. You know, we inhabit Link when we control him, and we are the spirit of the hero that drives him throughout his quest, which I've always loved that. So maybe in that example, the hero of Twilight would have it at that time, but the hero of Shade doesn't, but I don't know.
Trust me, as someone who's more focused on gameplay, don't get me wrong, the lore is really important to me, but gameplay is just as important. I love that theory, of course, you know, that we are the spirit, but it's like, it doesn't make sense lore-wise. So, like, is what Zelda acknowledging that it's a video game? And, like...
Maybe. Maybe that's why, you know, he holds up items, kind of like faces the camera and does that. Like, he knows he's showing the spirit of the hero through the screen, the item that they've just got. No, but I don't know.
I think it's something that Nintendo, if they tried to break down too much, there would be so many plot holes, and we're supposed to just kind of leave things up to being somewhat loosely interpreted, because a good example would be Zelda's mother from Breath of the Wild, and like how, I think in Zelda notes, she actually is a little bit worried or shocked, her face, or I forgot exactly what Zelda says, but like when she figures out that Zelda has the power within her, she worries. My theory was
she's not. Yeah.
My theory was she realizes that her end is soon, because she needs to now.
There can only be one.
There can only right. That's what I was thinking. Or did she even have the powers? They don't really confirm it. You know, or was it just Zelda and not her mother? They do confirm it?
I think because the fact that her mother dies in, like, before Breath of the Wild is kind of the reason that
the reason why it's all the pressure's on her, true. Yeah.
Exactly. I think, if her mother was around, she could have trained Zelda, which I'm sure there must be a sort of more concrete confirmation, but the idea that her mother would have helped her to access those powers kind of suggests that she must have had them as well. But I suppose with, like, the heroes, with the spirit of the hero and everything, there's no reason why you can't get two of them at the same time, right? There's no, like, hard-coded rule on any of this. Well, you know, maybe you've got...
I mean, but it removes the whole idea of reincarnation. Why are we calling it reincarnation? At this point, it's just some spiritual energy that's passed down to specific people. They are the avatar. And it's like, it's avatar level.
Kind of,
right? Yeah.
I mean,
should look at it
that's
that
kind
way.
of how I see it, though. It's like, rather than, like, Link being the same person reincarnated throughout time, it is kind of more like this essence of heroism and courage emerges kind of in the same way that in Breath of the Wild you have the Sheikah towers and all the Sheikah defense systems that activate when Calamity Ganon turns up. You know, it's the same kind of thing with the spirit of the hero. It's like whenever there's a notable evil, you'll have had the spirit of the hero kind of find a host or whatever before the events of that, so he can kind of meet evil. Is the kind of way I've always thought of that. Yeah. But what was number two? You had two things you wanted to say on the Hero's Shade.
Oh, I kind of brushed over one of them. It was the whole what's it called? Why does he want to pass down his knowledge when no other Link has passed it down? Yeah.
Well, no other Links can perform the Helm Splitter, things like that. So you could argue that Hero of Twilight gets stronger.
That's a parry move.
With the parry move. Yeah, that's true. Well, the Hero of Winds is just he's built different. He doesn't need a trainer.
Orica is just next level. Orica's the hero. Yeah. He got the knowledge somehow.
Maybe he's an old Link. Maybe that's another little Zelda theory there.
It makes sense now.
Yeah. But in their comment, RoboMage also points out how there's kind of interesting potential lore connections between Majora and the Twilight. which is something that's always kind of stood out to me as interesting, because there are a lot of design similarities. I mean, they point out in the comment between Majora's Mask and the fused shadow piece that Midna wears as a helmet. She's got kind of one of her eyes is very, very similar to one of the eyes of Majora. And we don't get much lore on Majora or Majora's Mask in the game itself. The only real comment we get on it is that it was created by some mysterious tribe and used in hexing rituals, whatever that means. And I don't know, the Twilight or the interlopers that they I suppose are descended from, they could be this mysterious tribe who created something like Majora's Mask. All we know about the Twilight's history is that they were a group of powerful magic wielders who got a little bit too big for their boots and tried to take the Triforce. So they were, ostracized and trapped in this other world. So that potentially there are connections there, and I think that would be a really cool thing to explore. What do you think
and
about
that's
that?
why Midna can use a fused shadow to transform you, like the masks would transform you, bro. Okay, no, I'm kidding. That's not deep.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. She I've always thought it's cool, awesome moment in Twilight Princess when she uses the full fused shadow and she becomes that kind of spider thing, when she attacks Ganondorf, and obviously does not go her way. She kind of gets crumped by the big G in that moment, but still, it's kind of, again, it's using this power to transform in some way.
I mean, I like the connections, and I think both of them are very mysterious and have that kind of like a taboo vibe going on. I mean, they both did something wrong. Majora's Mask is not something one should hold. Same goes with how you said they were exiled to a realm that is just not even in the normal world, and I would love to see more of that. I mean, I think that's why Twilight Princess and Majora's Mask are my top two. It's like they have such interesting, creepy lore to it that could be further fleshed out and would. I mean, but I'm sure most Zelda fans agree that that is the era. If we were to get something to be child timeline, it would be either in between Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess, or that Colin sequel. I'm talking. No, I'm kidding. Or like just something that.
Let's go.
Yeah. Something like that.
I mean, here's another idea for a direct Zelda sequel. How do you feel about something after Skyward Sword? Because that's obviously it ends up with a kind of it's a positive ending, but it is kind of still perhaps leaves the storybook open. They ends with Link and Zelda on the surface deciding to settle there, but the land is still basically untamed. It's like kind of not quite Breath of the Wild era wild, but it is, it's this kind of vast unknown landscape, really, because Link only explores little Gruseland, exactly. Link only explores little sections of it, and we know between the end of Skyward Sword and the beginning of Minish Cap, the next game in the timeline, the Kingdom of Hyrule's founded. We get all these kind of little lore tidbits on what Raru, the Sage of Light, not the King of Light, was doing during that time. There was a time when a lot of people wanted to get to the Triforce, so he put it in the Sacred Realm, built the Temple of Time, and sealed the door with the Master Sword. So there's a few, and actually I forgot to mention entirely, there's the War of the Bound Chest that happens between those two games as well, which is the war that's described in the intro cutscene of the Minish Cap, where during this period of relative peace, suddenly all these monsters appeared, and one guy called the Hero of Men, who seems to be another incarnation of Link. Interestingly, he doesn't wear the classic green hat, exactly, which I think because it seemed that Minish Cap, when it came out, was meant to be an origin story for why Link wears that hat. Because obviously Eslo looks like that and he wears it, and so the Hero of Men before that didn't wear a hat because I think that was meant to be that origin story. But he, with the help of the Picori, who gave him the Picori blade and the Light Force, he fights off all these monsters and seals them away. So it's kind of a relatively rare example of, we know of a whole Zelda story, like a whole quest of Link that happened between Skyward Sword and the Minish Cap, but it's not one we get to play. So that's another potential for if they did a Skyward Sword sequel, you could kind of tie it into that lore quite easily.
I don't think we've ever had a story that was told about a hero that we didn't get to play as, right? Like usually, like in the Wind Waker, they're talking about the Hero of Time, and like I'm thinking of any Zelda game if they had an origin story. They don't really have too many like that. It's usually just kind of starts off and you continue on. I'd say Wind Waker was kind of the first that really, I think that's why you love the intro so much, and I agree. It is like in the tapestry type,
oh man,
artwork and everything.
I mean, I've always said I think it's why I love the Wind Waker, but also it's also why I got so into Zelda lore. Is you start the game with this amazing tapestry of like this mysterious kingdom that, legend survives on the wind's breath, but none remain who know what actually happened. And then as you play through the game, you discover more about this kingdom, and then you get to go there beneath the sea, and it's just peak.
And hell,
so
you
good.
Can replay that if you just go play Ocarina of Time, because it's Ocarina of Time.
That's the kingdom, that was flooded, and it connects, and it's great. But I think there's a couple of other examples of Link's doing quests that we don't get to play through, but not many. So, like, obviously the big one is the hero 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild.
True, you're right. I was trying to think. They did do it before. Yeah, true, they did.
We know that one. And then there's another weird one in the backstory for Four Swords, which is mentioned that the Four Swords, the original Four Swords, or maybe Four Swords Adventures mentions it. Either way, it mentions that there was a hero that goes and stops Vati when he kidnaps a princess and takes her to a tower. And it doesn't seem to be describing the events of Minish Cap. It seems to be another event that happens between the Minish Cap and Four Swords, unless I'm misremembering that. But either way, very, very rare thing in the timeline to have links mentioned and, quests explained that we didn't actually play through. Because usually when they're referenced, it's games we know,
Mm-hmm. And it would be cool to, I mean, at this point, I'd want to explore, screw Four Swords. I'd want to explore the Breath of the Wild ancient hero. That would be cool, but, after the Zonai and what they did with it, I'm not too eager to see what that's about. But I do like the idea of the hero of men, and I think, let's be real, Skyward Sword can benefit from a sequel or a prequel. For it being the origin story to Zelda, my biggest issue with that game is there's too much origin to the origin story. Like, there's the whole war between Hylia and Demise, well, we can even remove that. Just what happened to Lanayru. I thought that was extremely
interesting.
Like, you can't give us a beautiful, lush, green, water-filled area that now turned into a sand sea and then be like, yeah, this is how it is now. It's like, but what happened to it? I need to know, right? I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's always stood out. It's really, really interesting, Lanayru, but I agree with you that I'd have liked like 1% more information, on what actually happened there, just so you can, like, in the same way as when you're playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, you can kind of piece together the story from the environment. Outside of the fact that it seems to have happened quite suddenly, whatever happened to Lanayru, you don't really know anything about what befell that kind of, because they seem to be a very technologically advanced people, mining time shift stones apparently for the goddess Hylia, perhaps to construct the gates of time or something like that.
A broken temple of time already existed, right? So there were people living.
It's like, I think it's so kind of ingrained in Zelda's DNA to have, some sort of ancient civilization and you're kind of walking through the ruins of it. It's very kind of like Tolkien-esque in that way that I think you couldn't really, even though it's the origin story of Link and, and Ganon and Zelda, I'd find it difficult to have a Zelda game that has no kind of pre-built lore in the world. Know what I mean?
You're right. No. If anything, I think Tears of the Kingdom showed us how maybe it's a bad idea to do that because, like, so we know
Hylia
over-explain because Hylia bringing up, and if anything, it's very similar. Like, Nintendo kind of reused a lot of story beats. Like, a civilization that was, I guess you could argue. Nah, they were on the surface. They were essentially on the surface, but there's the depths as well. But then brought up to the sky. That's kind of like how Hylia brought up the remaining Hylians up to the sky to escape whatever was happening on the surface. And leaving it up, I guess, to interpretation is fine. I mean, I wouldn't mind, though, having more lore explored in that regard. But Yeah, maybe it's better just left untouched. Whatever. What happened. We got the origin of the Master Sword. We got, what should have been the first Link and the first Zelda. That's good enough. We don't need... And plus, it wouldn't be the Legend of Zelda at that point. It'd be like the Legend of Hylia or... I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. But a sequel...
But, on that point...
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
On the point of a sequel, actually, talking about Tears of the Kingdom... the time period directly following Skyward Sword, the founding of Hyrule or whatever, has kind of become more relevant recently because, during Tears of the Kingdom, Zelda travels back to what is ostensibly just after the founding of Hyrule itself, and, Hyrule is kind of untamed and wild at that period in time. And now there's all these big debates, we've talked about before. I think I subscribe more to the theory that the time period Zelda travels back to then still takes place after all of the other Zelda games. I think you have to kind of, it requires the least amount of kind of suspension of belief if you subscribe to that theory. But as written in the game, it does seem like they're kind of trying to place that maybe between Skyward Sword and the Minish Cap, or because Zelda even says, this is a, I don't think she says era of myth, but she says this is the age that has become myth, or something like that, which sounds like she's referring to the actual Zelda timeline, which by the time of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, we know is just referred to as the era of myth. It's like lost history, so far in the distant past that all the details have been lost. But it's kind of clouded Zelda theorizing and timeline debates a little bit with what Tears of the Kingdom did there, which if you did follow up Skyward Sword with some sort of game in that time period, perhaps it could shed some more light on what they were trying to do then. Maybe they could double down on the idea that Raru's Hyrule is the original founding, or maybe if we see something else it would confirm that it is the second founding, or I don't know, it just feels like an area of the lore where they've gone out of their way to kind of unpick something that maybe was kind of quite nicely tied up before, and they kind of opened it a little bit, but only in a way that it adds more questions than it does answers.
I feel like out of anyone, you wouldn't subscribe to that belief because, I strongly believe that Skyward Sword is the foundation and Tears of the Kingdom is the second founding. Without a shadow of the doubt, there is no even slight consideration that it's not the case. I think Nintendo even made it clear. Fujibayashi said, if you put things together, maybe, then it's most likely, alluding. They're more so saying, we're not thinking about it as hard as you guys. Go play a video game, dude. You should play the game.
That's always the Varuta in the room. Yeah, whenever we're discussing Zelda timeline theorizing or, deep lore or whatever, I think, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I think Zelda lore, as deep as it can seem at times, is kind of an emergent property of the series. You get all of these games and this kind of deep narrative has sort of materialized as they make the games, rather than, there's not a man at Nintendo writing down this deep lore that then he sends over to Eiji Aonuma and Hidemaru Fujibayashi, who then write games based on that. It's they do their thing, they'll create their stories or whatever, and then it kind of adds into this great, fabric of existing Zelda lore. And then it's fun to just discuss, and if there are kind of kinks in it or areas that don't seem to make sense, it's fun to talk them out and kind of come up with possibilities and explanations. And same with all Zelda theorizing. The fun is in it's the journey, not the destination. The fun is in just talking about it rather than coming up with definitive answers. But on your point, I completely subscribe to the refounding idea because, like I said, it requires the least suspension of disbelief. We see in the time of the imprisoning war that Tears of the Kingdom shows us, we see Ganondorf sealed deep underground, and we know that then Hyrule Castle was built not long after that, over that, kind of like as a cork in a bottle sort of thing, like a protector of that seal. And then you get games like Ocarina of Time, where if that followed that imprisoning war, you'd have to imagine that a new Ganondorf emerged, and then he takes over Hyrule Castle, kind of destroys it, builds his own castle, which then gets destroyed by Ganondorf at the end of that game. And if it only took the Great Calamity appearing in Breath of the Wild to disturb that seal to the point where Ganondorf awakens, it just, I don't like the idea of there being another Ganondorf deep below the ground all throughout the Zelda timeline,
Right.
and B, it just seems that Hyrule Castle has been destroyed so many times throughout the series. At some point, this, sealed mummy dwarf below it would have come out before Breath of the Wild. I think it just makes the most sense to place it after all the other games. But the point I was trying to make is that it kind of feels like at the time, maybe when they were writing the story of Tears of the Kingdom, they did, try and go that way. They did try and have that as the founding of Hyrule. And then perhaps, it didn't work out in that it just doesn't work with the rest of the lore. But then if we did see a game set, as a direct sequel to Skyward Sword in the same way that Majora's Mask is to Ocarina of Time, perhaps it could show, shine some light on what actually is happening at that time period. Maybe we'd see the original founding of Hyrule with Old Man Rauru rather than Zonai Rauru. Or, I don't know.
Well, I think just in general, when they were making Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, it was to kind of like what you said, place the entire timeline prior to it. That is a little lackluster. I know some people want to say, oh, there's no plot holes. It's all completely articulated and planned out. When it's like, okay, then what about the whole Minish, like you said earlier, the Minish Cap idea of, oh, well, technically Eslo kind of created the new trend of Link wearing a hat. Okay, then they retconned it with Skyward Sword and like all the knights who graduate, they all wear hats, and it's like, okay, so
we've kind of got like 3 origins, like back to back to back, excluding Four Swords, of the green tunic. Yeah, there's the Knights Academy uniform, and it says, oh, this year the graduating knights are wearing green or something, and that's why he wears that. Then there's the Minish Cap, where obviously it explains why he wears the hat. And then in Ocarina of Time, it's just because he's a Kokiri, so he's kind of fitting in with them, and like, yeah, it's like 3 different explanations for that.
And that's proof in that Nintendo doesn't, plan things out that efficiently. I mean, again, like I said earlier, Tears of the Kingdom is a great example of sometimes when they make a direct sequel that is too direct, that is using the same world, that is using essentially the same characters and everything, and don't do the weird twist that Majora's Mask did, there's too many plot holes, because Nintendo is much better at making Zelda games that are loosely connected, that have enough vagueness in between each other to not be able to be like, huh, what about this? What about that? What's going on here? And I think that's what Nintendo should stick to in general. And I mean, overall, I feel like Breath of the Wild was that idea. It was like, okay, we have this whole timeline, let's kind of hit the reset button. But then again, they hit the reset button again with Tears of the Kingdom. They can't stop with the reset button. Like, you just move on. Like, we don't need another origin story. Like, I do think that was the biggest issue with Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, you established a great calamity, such interesting lore, a backstory to this new kind of Hyrule. You know what, let's just go even further back.
Right. Like, it just feels strange.
It undermines and devalues the Great Calamity so much. I mean, no one cares about the Great Calamity anymore. Yeah, it's what destroyed everything. It what made the King of Hyrule stop trusting Ashika. It created the Yiga. Like, it's, it's just, it's hilarious to think
about. I think with like Tears of the Kingdom as a direct sequel, it has to do things that Majora's Mask doesn't, and Phantom Hourglass doesn't, that it suffers for it. I think it showed that the Zelda team, they're really great at writing mysteries. Like Breath of the Wild's world is full of really enticing mysteries. Like what is the 8th heroine? Why is it on the other side of the Gerudo Highlands with its sword up on the top of that mountain? What happened there? What's the lore? What happened with the Zonai? And then Tears of the Kingdom, because it was set in the same world a couple of years later, it's kind of forced to answer those mysteries. And
I liked the heroine. At least I liked it. It was Link.
I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. It was just felt unsatisfying to me.
Really?
So it's there was like potentially a previous Link, I don't know, some male anyway, that helped the Gerudo defend themselves against, is it Moldugo or is it just some unknown threat? I'm not sure.
I can't remember the exact enemy, but I mean, regardless, you can look at it this way, like, Link, he cross-dresses, again, he's the link between the player, he is essentially ambiguous, it's not really like, it doesn't matter, he's not really a heroine, he's a hero in spirit, and at that point, it doesn't matter, and I thought that was cool. And it's a cool, like, oh, wow, it was Link all along, like, I thought it was going to be some Gerudo sage or something, I don't know, the fact that it's such a simple answer makes it deep.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know, I just felt so underwhelmed by that. Maybe because I spent so much time trying to work out, what are they trying to imply some deep lore here? Because with the 8th heroine, all of the seven heroines, they've all got Gerudo text on the side of them that translates to 7 sages. Or maybe it's the sage. Either way, the word sages is definitely on all of them. Which is, I don't know, it's such an enticing mystery, because obviously 7 of them, maybe it's the Gerudo's interpretation of the sages who have appeared throughout Hyrule's history to fight evil. Often there's 6, but a lot of the time there's 7 of them. Makes sense. Then what's the 8th? We've never seen an 8th sage, and why is it being excluded? Why is it being moved over here? It's
a
really
metaphor. How you have the 7 sages in Link. Link is always the 8th. Right? Essentially.
I think you've solved it there.
Right? Yeah. No, I mean, that is kind of like...
Legit, yeah, that's a fair interpretation, to be fair. But I think, Majora's Mask did so well because it's the same Link, it's a continuation of the same narrative, but it's just in a completely different world, completely different story, different mechanics, different everything, which is just, why it's still, beloved by so many fans.
Hourglass.
It's just so different, and so
that's the safest way.
Same with Phantom Hourglass.
You want to use the same Link?
Yeah.
Throw him in a new world, even if it's not a real world. Both Majora's Mask and Phantom Hourglass, the worlds don't exist. They're essentially dreams, or just some kind of manifestation of some evil or good. Because Oshus's dream essentially. It was very similar to like how Link's Awakening is, right? Like
exactly, it's a dream of a giant whale. Right. Either way,
and probably the only 2 people who entered the dream was, Linebeck. Linebeck escapes it too. I'm not gonna lie, I teared up when I saw Linebeck's ship just like setting sail.
Right.
And
it's the same as like Marin, sort of like.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. And when Hyrule Gamer mentioned in the last pod how he's like, yeah, true. You know what? Linebeck deserves some respect. He
does. He's a good character,
right? He had the ultimate wish,
I like
and he's like, I just want my ship back. That's it.
No, right? Don't get between a man and his ship. I think there's a lot of respect for Linebeck. I think I do love Phantom Hourglass's continuation of Wind Waker's story because, in a way that I don't like Spirit Track's story as much, because although it's they set sail and go to a new land, and I don't like that they call it New Hyrule, and immediately it starts falling into the problems that original Hyrule has with, oh no, there's an ancient demon king, and you need to defeat him with a legendary sword that's called the Locomo Sword, but just looks like the Master Sword.
Right.
And the
it's not Hyrule, bro.
Wind Waker's ending is so climactic in that it closes the book on Hyrule. That's the whole point. The King of Hyrule goes down with the ship, metaphorically sinking with his kingdom. He kind of, drown it, all the problems that it's had, all this like endless cycles of bloodshed over, wars over Hyrule. Just drown it out and let the children of the world go forth and do something new. And then Phantom Hourglass as a direct sequel is cool, I've got a couple of issues with the game's story, but overall it's, just this kind of bottle story set in this kind of enclosed pocket dimension or whatever the world of the Ocean King is. But then Spirit Tracks, they go and they find a new world, and it's like just after King Daphnis sacrifices himself and says, Hyrule's done, go forth and do something else. They set sail, land on a new island. What do they call it? New Hyrule. It's like brilliant. Right. Awesome.
With a whole origin that we have no clue about, and that has history, like you said, of a shackled demon through the Spirit Tracks, and they're disappearing, unshackling the demon. I like it though, but I think it kind of lends itself to what you also mentioned earlier, of that Zelda needs ancient lore to it. Without it, it's not mysterious. If it's like all ground up, all new, it's not going to be as interesting and as mysterious. And what Zelda normally is, like the whole idea is, again, trekking land that has existed and trying to piece together its mysteries. It's kind of like, discovering Earth. And for us, we just play video games because Earth's been discovered. We got nothing to do. Born
too late to explore the Earth.
But
too
also
early
born
to explore the stars.
Right? It's depressing. So video
but
games.
We can explore Hyrule right now. Yeah.
Right? Dude, that's so depressing.
Hell yeah. But I think, overall, like with the topic of Zelda sequels, I think Tears of the Kingdom kind of shows that, at least for me, when it comes down to it, although there are kind of areas of the Zelda timeline I'd like to see, that I think kind of are interesting to place a game, I think I'd just much rather if they did follow up a game to do something different rather than try and fit it into the existing narrative and whatever. So like I think even the one we discussed at the start, the one that I think we both agree would be the most exciting, you know, a third Hero of Time game. I think if it's kind of he returns to Hyrule and we see, you know, like because there's a lot of mysteries about that in general. Like we know that Link returns to his childhood and he warns Zelda about Ganondorf, which eventually leads to Ganondorf's execution in Twilight Princess, but we don't really know how that happened. We don't know the mechanics of that whole situation. So yeah, there's like, it's an area that's ripe for storytelling, but I think I'd be more satisfied if he went somewhere else and had another Majora's Mask style,
Same.
completely different adventure, because I think that's when Zelda shines, is when it's kind of, I don't know, rather than trying to fit itself into existing lore and existing boundaries of storytelling, it just does something wild and random.
Yep.
I think that's always when it shines.
I think that is the main reason why Tears of the Kingdom had the issues it had. It's just, it proved again, Nintendo's not good at making something that utilizes everything the same way. They have to give us something trippy.
Yeah.
They have to throw us in. They have to throw Link in a completely different, you know, like alternate reality to make it interesting if we're going to keep playing as the same character. Why? Because then it gives us a lot of, you know, things up to interpretation. There is no actual definitive what and where and why, because again, yeah, having it so connected to Breath of the Wild gave us too many plot holes, and that's why Majora's Mask, same thing with Phantom Hourglass, and really any other direct sequel just kind of worked because it expanded and moved on from it. It didn't just reuse the same concept, and it's proof that, yeah, I mean, I look at it, even it's the whole Mario Galaxy thing again. It's like, so I mean, but I guess the argument was that, you know, Rosalina kind of reset everything, right, at the end of Galaxy 1, so it was able
like,
to
welcome
be
to the birth of a new universe or whatever at the end of Galaxy.
But like that made it safe to where it's like, okay, they just gave it, Galaxy 2 is essentially the same thing again, but like it's different now, so we don't care. And yeah, I'd say if Nintendo were to give us that, you know, for me, like my dream sequel, it would obviously, I think with most people, be in the whole Hero of Time continuation, but I would be down for really anything as long as it is like loosely interpreted and has like enough distance or just in a different area entirely to not give us, you know, the questions that we would have, or like, you know, again, problems in which that you're wondering, why is this not here, or why is this not connecting with what Breath of the Wild did. And even Tears of the Kingdom, like, even though I'm done with the Wild era, if they give us, you know, like 50 years down the road, no, I'm done with that Hyrule though. Never mind.
Well, that's the thing. Exactly. It's like with that, I'm
how about they set sail?
very...
How about literally Link and Zelda, same Link and Zelda, they set sail, they're like, to the next continent. I'd be fine. I wouldn't even care if we got a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom.
I want to see something different. I do, really different.
Oh, that's not my dream. That's not my dream. I'm just saying I'd be cool with that. Yeah.
I think we completely agree then. If we were going to get a threequel, you know, the third, like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, whatever comes next, in like a trilogy, yeah, if they just did everything the same, you know, same Link and everything, but just in a completely different world, he goes off and explores a new land adjacent to Hyrule, I'd like that. Yeah, I still want something so much different to that, like completely fresh in all the different ways it can be fresh, because I feel we've been in this era for so long. I still think that'd be a way to do it if they did that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, my dream sequel would be Colin. The Adventures of Colin.
Oh yeah, Colin the giraffe.
The
man,
giraffe.
I think.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And entering...
Nintendo, write this down.
Yeah, or no, I mean, I'd be open for anything. Honestly, I originally thought when we got Breath of the Wild that Nintendo wasn't even going to explore the previous timeline, because I thought the whole idea was it was a myth, it was a legend, it was, you know, they established a new origin story. And even Tears of the Kingdom, if you look at it as it's the new founding of Hyrule and it doesn't actually have any connection with the rest of the timeline, then it really continues that way. But they give us games like Echoes of Wisdom that makes me be like, have they moved on?
Yeah, which is,
you know,
explicitly in the timeline. You know, it's got ruins from A Link to the Past. Well, I mean, it's set in A Link to the Past's world, but obviously, I don't know, maybe 100 years in the future, 200. I don't know.
No, not 100, because 100 years in the future is A Link Between Worlds, so it'd be even further.
True. Yeah, 100 years after A Link Between Worlds, then maybe. I don't know, but a little while after those games, either way. No, you're right. But did you have anything else you wanted to say on the topic of Zelda direct sequels, or do you want to move into some quick fire questions from the mailbag?
I guess we talked about it enough. I mean, do you have a definitive? For us, I guess we vaguely, it's whatever, right? It's it could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, to put a capper on like my general opinion on it is like, I would like to see some Zelda sequels. I think there's kind of areas for that, but like I said, I think Zelda's at its best when it's doing its own thing, being as wild and as free as it can be. I think trying to shoehorn a game into even the most interesting places in the timeline, like the third Hero of Time game, I think I'd just rather something completely fresh, if I'm honest. I think that's probably the way I'd like to see them do things. How about you? You kind of agree with that, or something different, or?
I'm open. I'm honestly open to both. I think because again, Majora's Mask being like such an amazing game and having no true connection to Ocarina of Time outside of reusing everything from it, but making a completely new vibe, feel, and having a like again, they're exploring the Carnival of Time, there's the four giants. There's no sages. None of that exists. So it's like I feel like. Yeah, as long as Zelda gives us that, it doesn't matter which link they choose. It doesn't matter what they do. It's going to work out. I'm not worried. So I just think I agree. As long as it is different enough, it can be a sequel. It could be a loose sequel. It could be in a completely different timeline. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think we overall kind of pretty much agree on the whole topic then. But yeah, thank you so much for sending in the question. That was RoboMage1 over on YouTube. So yeah, we've got a few more questions. These are kind of slightly shorter ones, or ones that we thought would get a little bit less of a discussion out of. But still, thank you to everyone who sent in questions. So we've got one here from, I think it's Reclaimer, but spelt with some numbers, over on our Discord. Which if you want to join, if you want to give us any questions for us to answer on these mailbags, either leave them in the comments for this, or we do have a Discord server, which is linked in the description.
Or if you want to send a private message, even though we're going to read it publicly, you can email us.
You can email us. Yeah, exactly. But either way, Reclaimer says, hot take, Tears of the Kingdom should have introduced a full party system with its sages. I've never liked the sages' avatars. They look bland, have no voice lines, and tracking them in combat is a nightmare. Most players just turn them off, except maybe Tulins. A party system, like in other RPGs, would have been way better. The sages could have stuck with Link the whole story, like they did with Rauru in the past, and seamlessly switching to one would have made their abilities feel fluid, while mixing up gameplay by letting you play as other characters. Plus, it would have nailed the game's core theme, hand in hand, working together as a team. Thoughts? Would you guys like to see such a system implemented in future installments? So, Luke, what do you think? Sages as a kind of more RPG party system, or?
Oh, I would love that. As someone who loves RPGs, I mean, that'd be super cool to see. It would, it would add an element that, let's be honest, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are kind of missing, and that is the companionship. You kind of feel like you're alone in this world and you don't have anybody. And 100% having the avatars be just these bland, voiceless, just things next to you. They don't really feel like a party. I really don't feel the camaraderie until it is like against the Demon King's army and they all come with you and it's just like, there's my squad. And it feels so much more special when you have that, because let's be real, the avatars, there's a lot of issues going on with them. I mean, even outside of just the way you have to use them, you have to run up to them and press A and interact with them, just use their abilities.
It's so clunky.
So infuriating from a gameplay stance. But like, even in a story stance, I just feel like Nintendo was very limited. Even if they wanted to do that, I feel like they couldn't have done that. And I think the reason why they went with avatars is because, like, when you enter a town, having them run with you is going to be very weird in a house and this and that. So I feel like the whole idea is, they could just go back in Link's ring. Okay, it's whatever. And I feel like that was one of the main reasons. There's a lot of limitations. I mean, I guess you could look at it as like they can wait outside of town when you enter, but with how open air the game is and stuff like that. I don't know. I just feel like, a huge reason and why they were just boring avatars could be like just for because they were unable to make it work seamlessly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I agree with you in that, like, the implementation of the sages in Tears of the Kingdom was kind of pretty rubbish in that, like, I mean, Reclaimer points out that I know you're the same as me. You basically only ever have Tulin on because his ability is always useful when you're gliding, and he's got an insane headshot
right
ability,
the combat actually helpful
fighting.
Yep.
Yeah, and when there's just one of them, it kind of, it makes it less, I don't know, overwhelming and cluttered when there's all these sages running about. So yeah, I think I agree that it needed to have been done a different way. I don't agree that... I don't think I'd have liked a party system, sort of an RP. I wouldn't like them to be the sages who are kind of always on me, always with me on my journey throughout Hyrule. Especially not kind of switching to them. I think, for me, Zelda... especially Breath of the Wild, it is kind of this very isolated experience. You are Link. The whole goal is to go and get lost by yourself in this world. You're on your own. And yeah, Reclaimer points out that one of the big themes of Tears of the Kingdom is hands and coming together and joining up as a team rather than the isolated experience of Breath of the Wild. But still, most of the time in Tears of the Kingdom, where I'm enjoying it is just getting immersed as just this one guy exploring this world. And I think if I was kind of switching over to Tulin or now I'm Yunobo and stuff, I'd lose that kind of element of isolation that I think all Zelda games kind of have. Even Ocarina of Time, you're going into the Shadow Temple, it's just you and Navi in the darkness, or Skyward Sword, it's just you and Fi. And I think my answer for this is the same as my answer for the playable Zelda debate. I love Echoes of Wisdom. I'm glad we've got a game where Zelda is the protagonist, but I would hate a game where you play as Link for a little bit and then switch over to Zelda for a little bit and then switch back. I think it should be very much just one protagonist, go and get lost in the world. I don't think Zelda would suit a party system.
Yeah, no, I agree with you when you mention it like that, and I think at least when it comes to future installments, I'm 100% with you. I think it needs to kind of focus on the protagonist, focus on what made Zelda special, but I think Tears of the Kingdom in particular would have benefited from it, especially to give it a difference, like a much bigger difference than Breath of the Wild, and make it feel unique. And again,
yeah, that's a good point.
Like Reclaimer said, the whole hand-in-hand feature. So yeah, maybe if out of any Zelda game we were to get a party system, then that would be it. And technically, we do have a very watered-down version of that with the avatars and everything. And I don't know. I guess in that game in particular, I'd be fine with it. It would be annoying, hearing Yunobo go "Come on, Goro!" in the background or something.
That's what I'm imagining. Yeah,
yeah.
Right, because
Link now it's drawing time.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling it.
Right?
I'm just thinking of Xenoblade.
Exactly,
yeah.
Which to me is just that's so jarring for Zelda, where it's so immersive and kind of therapeutic. You're just this one guy who doesn't speak, crucially, just kind of exploring this world, and the only sounds you hear are the broken piano notes and the sounds of the wilderness. And yeah, you're right, if you got Yunobo screaming over the top of that constantly, I don't know, I wouldn't like that. Yeah. So for me, I don't know, I wouldn't like the party system. But I think I agree with you that, yeah, if any game did it, maybe Tears of the Kingdom would be the one, just so then it's another difference to Breath of the Wild, which, as I said, is all about isolation and being by yourself. Maybe Tears of the Kingdom could have pulled it off, but I don't think that's my cup of tea.
And I guess, yeah, I agree. As Zelda as a whole, but if we were to get, if we got Monolith Soft, developing a Zelda game or co-developing a Zelda game, I would really want that then. I would want to establish the characters, have you get as many allies as possible. Yeah. But yeah, it would be like a kind of an Echoes of Wisdom concept where it's a spin-off in the main line, if that makes sense, right? 'Cause that's essentially what it feels like, and I'm sure how a lot of people see it. But I don't consider Echoes of Wisdom a spin-off, but if you were to call a mainline Zelda game a spin-off, I'd be fine with you calling Echoes of Wisdom a spin-off, because it is just completely different from how any other Zelda game plays. The Zelda game plays, not outside of just not playing as Link, but everyone complains about it's the core mechanic, you don't fight, you are a mage. You're not a swordsman. Technically you can for brief moments, but
turning into Link though, so it's
right. Yeah,
which it always felt a little bit odd to me. But yeah, I don't know, thank you so much for sending in the question, Reclaimer. We've got another one from Joe IK1PH, Joe Ikif.
This is such a good segue from what I was saying.
Yeah, true. Yeah, so Joe Ikif, Joe IK1PH, whatever. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. On YouTube, said, not counting the CDI games or spin-offs, what is your least favorite Zelda game? Do you want me to start on that?
Yep.
Well, it depends, because I think we're going to both have the same answers. Shall we say without, like, not counting multiplayer Zeldas in this? Or, I think we'd probably both say... I mean, maybe I'm speaking...
You're going to say Triforce Heroes?
Maybe you're not a... I wasn't, actually. I was going to say Four Swords.
Oh, the original, like, yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, because it's got less to it than Triforce Heroes. Like, I still don't love Triforce Heroes just because multiplayer Zelda, for me, that's not why I play Zelda. I like them as these very personal, singular experiences. But, Triforce Heroes is the most fun, I think, out of the multiplayer Zeldas.
And you can play it single player, at least.
You can, but it's just kind of rubbish single player. Same with Four Swords. Four Swords Adventures.
No, that one's fun. That one's so playable single player. Trust me.
I mean, I don't rate it. Maybe it's been a while since I played Triforce Heroes single player, but I hated that. I thought that was really clunky.
No, I agree.
We have the
I agree with Triforce
doppelganger links and
I agree with Triforce. I'm saying Adventures. Adventures is very playable.
To be fair, it's been a while since I played that as well, but I don't remember enjoying it. But maybe if I revisited it, I'd have a better opinion.
You would.
But I don't know. Should we say no multiplayer Zeldas in this, or would yours not be a multiplayer Zelda?
Mine wouldn't even be a multiplayer Zelda. You already know what it is.
What? Adventure of Link?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's not.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. What is yours?
No, I'd agree. If it was non-multiplayer Zelda, because it's again, it's like it almost be in the same way. With Echoes of Wisdom. If you were gonna call one of the mainline games a spin-off, Adventure of Link would be a pretty good example of something that, because it just plays unlike any other Zelda game. It's a 2D side scroller. It's more like a Super Metroid than it is. Like
I wish.
Past, or Zelda 1 or
I wish.
Well, it's kind of much clunkier
Super Metroid
than
is
Super Metroid.
confound at least, and it's like you. Yeah, no. Here's the thing: it should have been on the Super Nintendo. I feel like if it was on the Super Nintendo, it'd be so much better. It's like
Nintendo it would have benefited from so much of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Nintendo tried to make this sequel and do something so ambitious with it, but the hardware wasn't there, and that's why I do think actually out of any Zelda game that I feel like if we needed a remake to, it would be Zelda 2, because it is at least, I'm sure people who are like a little bit older than us, they look at those games as true foundations of Zelda. I look at them as like relics of the past that don't really need to be touched anymore, which is, I know, blasphemous to say for some Zelda fans, but like truly for me, if I were to consider the first truly masterful Zelda game that has not aged one day, it would be A Link to the Past. But I look at
it's still as good as the day it came out. Yeah,
but I look at Zelda 1 and 2, but Zelda 1 is so much better though. Trust me, I'm not.
I
Zelda,
agree.
Yeah, but like Zelda 2 in particular, I just feel like it's aged, and it's aged poorly.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to come back to. I swear, you don't trust me. I'm a Zelda fan. You don't know how many times I tried to convince myself I can do this. I'm gonna play. I just keep trying to play. I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I have it's too difficult, and I keep giving up. Like till this day, I haven't been able to do a proper replay through of it. So yeah, genuinely,
I've only ever beat it kind of liberally abusing save states. Then it's kind of all right, then you can get through it, but I still to this day don't know how people beat it when it came out. Like, I don't know, people were just different back then, right? So I think I'd have given up definitely if I was playing that on my NES.
Yeah. Well, let's be real. With how games are and the endless amount of selection and everything, we have become super desensitized. So that definitely plays a factor in it. I mean, think of how amazing Tears of the Kingdom really is, and how we're so stuck up and we're like, not good enough, so. Yeah. I mean, imagine that coming out 10 years ago. Like, that's black magic. It's straight up black magic at this point, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we're in agreement on that then. So we've got another question from Discord. This is Neve Nelly, who says, if you could play a Zelda game from scratch, which would you choose and why? I assume they mean, if you could kind of wipe all prior knowledge of one and go in completely blind again and play it. I think I know my answer. Do you want to say it at the same time? Because I wonder if yours would be the same.
Okay. On three?
3, 2, 1... Breath of the Wild.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, there was, like I said, I felt like a kid again when I first played it. It was so special, and I think having that boots on the ground, like forcing me to thoroughly explore everything. Because if I said Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like I would have just broke the game too fast, and it would have lost the novelty really quickly. So, yeah, no, 100% Breath of the Wild. It was a game because I played as an actual adult. You were like what, 20 when it came out? I was 22.
2017. No, I was like, yeah,
Something like
20. Yeah.
Something
17,
like
18,
that.
No, 19. 19. I wasn't
19.
yet 20.
Damn.
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah. I was like 22 when it came out.
Yeah.
And I never thought I could feel that way playing a game at that age. Like, it felt magical.
It was like kind of Christmas morning as a kid sort of thing. It was like, it was just magic. I remember I was at first year of university at the time, and I went to Game in Canterbury for the midnight launch to pick it up, my pre-order. Obviously got it back, started playing at midnight. I remember one of my flatmates the next day knocked on my door and like came into my room, and it was like kind of 1 or 2 in the afternoon. He was like, dude, you're still up. You haven't gone to sleep. I was like, no, I've been playing for like 13 hours straight all through the night. This is, Breath of the Wild. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
And yeah, just kind of jumping off the Great Plateau for the first time, and like, if I could go back to that, yeah, I would.
Same. Yeah. It's I mean, it gives me hope that we're gonna have that again in the next next generation. Yeah. Like, please, because that is what I live for. Like, actually.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure we will. I've got faith. They can do it again. Just a new world, completely new thing, new era. I think they can do it again. Maybe we might be saying a different answer. If we're doing Zeldudes podcast episode 600 in 10 years time, we might be saying a different answer.
We're bald and old and fat.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But anyway, we've got another question here from Z.I. Weston over on YouTube. He said, "Hi, loving the podcast. Just wondering, as Zelda fans, how much time have you actually spent on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom? For me combined, it's about 500. Does that make me a true fan?" I'd say 500 hours combined. You're in the true fan category. I don't know. Nah, that's 250 hours a game. That you're good on that. Yes, Well, yeah. I don't know. How many are you? I've got my Switch here. I can have a look.
Same. I mean, here's the thing. Mine didn't carry on, but like I can just look at Switch 2 only. Switch 2 only. I have on one profile. Oh my God. I have 250 hours on one profile already.
Yeah.
And that's just one profile. Let me see. I have 820 hours on Breath of the Wild in one profile.
Okay, you've got me beat. Okay, my Switch is I didn't think to charge it. Can you go on my Switch profile I'm on your friends list. Can you see my playtime, or is that?
Yeah. As long as you have it public, let's see.
Because I've got the same problem with you. I think my Breath of the Wild, all of those hours are on my Switch profile, but my Tears of the Kingdom, I've played on 2 separate ones. I can't remember what's on this one.
Have you opened Breath? Okay,
but I think you still got me beat.
But you got a lot on Breath of the Wild. You ain't smitten. You have 1,745 hours on Breath of the Wild.
Played a lot.
And then Tears of the Kingdom 285, bruh.
Okay, right, yeah.
But
so probably, I don't know, if you include the other one, Tears of the Kingdom's maybe like 400 then. I don't know. Okay. It's nowhere near Breath of the Wild.
For me, collectively, so I'm just looking at my live stream files. I have like 200 on both, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Right. On my main file, thing is, it didn't transfer. But if I were just to look at, not Nintendo Switch 2. I can't see it because I didn't open it up recently. But like, last time I checked, it was like, so Breath of the Wild on Switch 1 was at least almost 2,000 hours on one profile, excluding the other one that had 800. So let's say 3,000 hours. Here's the thing though, like, and I'm sure you can agree with me, since we do content, we do a lot of B-roll, we do a lot of like standing still. Like, it's not like, I'm sure
a lot of my insane Breath of the Wild playtime will be recording footage and stuff.
Yeah, and actually playing. But I'm sure like a good 30% of it is getting B-roll. Yeah, literally getting
So our numbers will be kind of inflated. But yeah, I'm interested to hear, so obviously Z.I. Weston has 500 hours combined. I'm interested to hear, if you're listening to this, leave it in the comments what your playtime is on Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom.
I was teasing you, by the way, Weston. Like, 500 is a lot. If like 250 on both games, that's enough to have that's enough to have beaten the game, gotten every shrine, and then some for certain. Like that's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot of time in a video game. I was just being sarcastic because compared to what I have, I think so Tears of the Kingdom, I at least have like 1,500, and then Breath of the Wild I have double that, like 3,000. So it's a lot of time. This is what we're doing with our lives. We're not going outside. We're staying inside playing video games. I'm
experiencing touching grass in Hyrule.
Right? There's a lot of grass at least.
Yeah,
I'm not lying.
exactly,
I've probably seen more grass in Breath of the Wild than I have in real life, like at this point.
Yeah. It's pretty insane when you put it
these
that
are
way.
You know what's interesting is these are most played Zelda games of all time, and I feel like for a lot of people it's actually I don't think if I really think about it, I think Twilight Princess wouldn't even be 500 hours throughout my entire life.
Oh yeah, probably
because the games
not
are so much
close.
shorter too. And
That's it. Yeah, I've lost track
sandboxy.
of how many times I've played the Wind Waker, but you know a Wind Waker playthrough takes an absolute fraction of the time of Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. So although I've played the game more, my total hours will be nowhere near Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. But anyway, we've got another question here from Jacob Anderson V1H over on YouTube, who says, what are some of your favorite Zelda fan projects you've seen? I'm currently making one. Also, I love your content on this channel and on your individual channels. So thank you very much for the question and for the kind words.
We mentioned it. We already mentioned
we've mentioned
it
the big one that we love, the Hero's Purpose animated series by Major Link. We've said it before, so we won't go into that again. But
that is the best out there. If you haven't seen it, like, what are you doing?
It's so good. Another one that there's a band I've been listening to more recently, but I discovered them a little while ago, but kind of I've gone through periods of listening to them more times than others. There's a band called Master Sword, and it's kind of Zelda inspired, I guess, like power metal, you'd put it. Like
I want to see this.
It's really, really good. And they've just, in 2025, they just did another album, kind of Majora's Mask inspired. And yeah, they're really good. If you're kind of a metal head, then listen to Master Sword for some Zelda themed metal. They're really good.
You know what? To have a similar answer in the same vein as yours, I guess technically this artist doesn't necessarily focus on Zelda in particular, but Sean Christmas. Hopefully someone out there knows who he is.
I don't think I've heard of him. No.
They made even like they made a Sonic Frontiers song called Lost. That's a banger. It really is a banger. But they also made a Zelda song. They made like several Zelda songs. They're kind of like Nate Wants to Battle.
Yeah.
Very much inspired by that. I think I actually signed by the same record, like Heartless or something. I forgot. It's very rock band. It reminds me of like alternative rock coded. Like I'm thinking of like All Time Low and stuff like that. Sleeping with Sirens.
Oh, that's cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
what was his name again? Sean.
So, Sean Christmas. And
I don't know how I forgot Christmas. That's such an iconic name. Sean Christmas. I'll check
and they made a song called "We Are the Champions." I'm not like, it's a fucking bop. Like it's about the champions from Breath of the Wild, and it's edited really well using like Hyrule Warriors footage and stuff. And it's just like when I want to get kind of that Zelda vibe and inspired and balance the music. Yeah,
all right, I'll put it
hits.
On. Okay.
Yeah,
another one this is much older, maybe like 2015, I want to say, but I listen to this all the time. I still do. Is Brental Floss and Demon Tomato Dave did a Ocarina of Time. It's like Ocarina of Time with lyrics is the title, and it's amazing. It's like, I can't remember how long it is, but it's maybe like 10 minutes. It's kind of a whole saga, but they kind of sing this whole thing. It's kind of like if a fight could be a song. It's like done where like Brental Floss's character hates Ocarina of Time and Dave's loves Ocarina of Time, and then all with words synced up to Ocarina of Time songs, they kind of debate the game, and it's just so brilliant. I used to listen to that all the time, and it still holds up. So yeah, that's another one. Ocarina of Time with lyrics is fantastic.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to shout out, or do you want to jump into the next question?
I'm sure. The thing, what sucks is there is something. I'm not thinking.
It's just when you're on the spot, it's really hard. Yeah.
At least music. At least if you're interested in music, check the ones we recommended, because definitely.
Yeah, you're covered.
Yeah. Like, just give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay, we got a question from Jeffa on Discord, who said, do you think the Master Sword in the Wind Waker is the same as the Master Sword in the other Zeldas? Because interestingly, yeah, we obviously we just finished our Ocarina of Time Let's Play on the channel, and at the very end of that game, Link's sent back through time, and he has the Master Sword, right? Unless I'm really misremembering.
Yeah, Zelda says place it back.
When he's
and
of course he puts it back and then goes to speak to Zelda. Yeah, so he seems to take that back through time with him, which could suggest that the adult timeline branch is left without a Master Sword until Link discovers one in the Sunken Hyrule Castle and the Wind Waker. And interestingly, the Master Sword looks very different. You know, a lot of that can obviously be chalked up to the art style, but it's kind of much shorter and it's got these kind of more prominent wings and and also, I mean, it functions differently because we know it needs the sages of earth and wind constantly praying to kind of imbue it with this sacred power to repel evil, which isn't something we've seen of other iterations of the Master Sword. So I don't know, I think an argument could be made that it's a kind of a separate blade entirely. For my money, I think it just makes the most sense to assume it is the Master Sword, just because maybe it's mainly just because I'm biased and I don't like the idea of multiple Master Swords. I like it being kind of this singular thing. Like there's one of them, it's the Master Sword, it's the Master Sword. And in the same way that, although Link takes the Triforce of Courage back, through time with him when he's whatever, the Triforce still exists in the adult timeline. It seems the Triforce is such a powerful thing. It's so kind of fundamental to the world itself that it kind of transcends time, and it doesn't really matter about being sent into different timelines. Something like the Triforce seems to just exist outside of those rules. And I don't know, the Master Sword is, it's called the Sword of Time. It's the key to the Gate of Time and the Temple of Time that you need the Ocarina of Time to open. Time. So I think it just, I think it just makes sense to me that it doesn't play by the rules of time in the same way that you'd imagine other things to do. So I like to imagine that it's the Master Sword. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think because time travel leaves a lot of plot holes, there's always going to be like, how did that happen? I'm sure just like the way Nintendo saw it is there's still a Master Sword residing in the adult timeline, and that was the one that was meant to be, used by the Hero of Time, but that Hero of Time no longer is in that world, so it's just waiting for the next hero, and that being the Hero of Wind. And I guess the biggest, reason maybe why people question it, I mean, it could be, like, I'm not sure if Jeffer was thinking because, in particular, that whole thing you mentioned about Link being sent back in time, like maybe it could just be because of the design, because if it's because of the design, it's 100% the art style. Like I don't think there's anything deeper than that. Like it 100%, it's just it fit more. I think the whole idea of having blue being in a sea, I mean, even the mirror shield, it's like blue and everything. Like I just think like Link's weapons, his final weapons were meant to be like nicely colored the same and to represent the sea. And because normally it's purple. I mean, no matter what, the Master Sword always changes its design slightly. It's never consistent. I feel like once they did Twilight Princess, it solidified the design.
It's differed very little from them.
Right, because you can look at it this way. Well, A Link to the Past had a tempered Master Sword. Like what? We never see that.
Right. And even the Master Sword itself in that didn't resemble, like in all the artwork and whatever, didn't resemble the Master Sword that we know. But like Ocarina of Time kind of started that design, but then you're right, Twilight Princess kind of cemented it. Because then Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom,
all look the same.
All kind of very similar design for that. Thank you for that question. And then the final one we got for today is from Ben Zayringer, who sent us an email, who said, I like this question actually. What in your opinions is the best Zelda title? So like not like best Zelda game, but literally just the title itself, e.g. Breath of the Wild, Link's Awakening, etc. What do you think? Best title?
I really like Twilight Princess because I like the double meaning behind it too. It's like The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. She's the Twilight Princess, but also, it really applies for Midna. But I mean, Midna sort of calls Zelda the Twilight Prince. I thought that was really cool when she literally drops the line like Twilight Princess.
It's cool. Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about it. The whole idea of it being the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I'm biased probably. I'm trying to think. Like, It just sounds really nice.
No, I think it sounds nice. Yeah. I mean, Ben mentioned it in their email, but I think Breath of the Wild is just such a nice name.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those ones that when they first dropped it, you know, in that E3 thing, I was like, it took me a while. I was like, Breath of the Wild. You know, it takes a while to get your mouth around it. And I kept saying Breath of the Wind for ages afterwards, before Breath of the Wild clicked. But then, I don't know, it's just, because it's such a strange title, but then I can't think of anything that would fit that game more than the name Breath of the Wild.
Right.
I think it's just so, I don't know, it's strange, but it just embodies everything about that game. Like, obviously, Of the Wild is just, you know, makes sense because, you know, it's set in the wilderness. But then, I don't know, Breath of the Wild kind of personifies the wild, giving it, you know, a characteristic like having breath. It kind of, you know, humanizes the wild, personifies the wild, which in many ways, the wilderness and just Hyrule and the overworld is the most important character in Breath of the Wild. So kind of personifying it in the name itself, that kind of the life of this world is the point.
I thought it was like breathing in the wild. That's how I interpreted it.
It could be that as well. There you go. It could be a little double meaning. Yeah, like he steps out the Shrine of Resurrection, takes a big breath of the wild, or he hasn't brushed his teeth in 100 years. He's got that breath of the wild. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could look at that one, but that's always stuck out to me. I also like the ones with just some nice alliteration. So, you know, Wind Waker, Skyward Sword. Just really kind of Majora's Mask, you know, I like that kind of the alliteration's always nice. I mean, Skyward Sword in general, I quite like that. Wind Waker, that's my favorite game. I don't know, Wind Waker. I mean, I do like it. You know, it's not a bad title, and I can't think of anything else that would fit it more. But
the Wind Waker,
the Wind Waker. Yeah, you're right. But Skyward Sword, it's so satisfying to say.
I remember when the game first came out, I made a channel called Skyward Luke because I just thought it was so cool.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah, and it reminded me of like Luke Skywalker, Luke Skyward. Just sounds like a cool name.
I see. Yeah. But that's always been really nice to me. Kind of turning the question on its head, what would you say your least favorite, like, mainline Zelda title is?
The Adventure of Link.
True. It's so boring. It's like,
Zelda. It's not even the Legend of Zelda, right? It's just Zelda, The Adventure of Link. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it doesn't say.
The Legend.
I think it's the only one without the Legend of. Yeah. I think it's just Zelda, The Adventure of Link. I think you're right on that. And it's weird, because it doesn't say anything about the game, because every game except Echoes of Wisdom is the Adventure of Link, right? He has an adventure in every game. That's the point. Another one that I've never really loved. I like the name. I like the way it sounds, but it doesn't really kind of mean anything. Is A Link to the Past. It's always a weird one. Obviously in Japanese, it was Triforce of the Gods.
Yeah, it's way better. Okay, that's way better.
Triforce of the Gods is so sick. It's such a nice name.
But we can't have that. Because gods, you know,
right?
Religious.
Yeah. Not good for us English speakers, apparently. But yeah, that one's always, because why is it to the past? You know, where's that come from?
Because
he doesn't go to the past.
What if the dark world is? It's not, right? It's technically not in the past. It's an alternate reality, right?
Well, yeah,
it's a parallel.
It's always, I don't know, because it's kind of, it sets up the imprisoning war and Ganon as this kind of being that was sealed in the past, and I wonder if it's just kind of like something from the past has returned.
So you like A Link Between Worlds more because at least it makes sense.
I think I prefer that, yeah, because you know, between worlds there's the parallel kingdoms, and Link is, you know, the guy that travels between them. He's the link between them. Yeah, no, that's always stuck out to me as way nicer.
I never thought of that.
Phantom
you don't go in the
Hourglass,
past.
That's nice.
Phantom Hourglass has the same vibe as Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time. It's even Skyward Sword. It's mentioning the most important item.
The item, thing. Yeah. What do you think about Tears of the Kingdom? Because that, interestingly, was not the title for most of the... I mean, I don't know when they decide on the title during development. I assume it's quite later on. But they were interestingly going to call it Tears of the Dragon for quite a while.
I was really thinking that,
they changed it to Tears of the Kingdom because, you know, I think they thought Tears of the Dragon revealed too much of the game's story.
I like it.
Yeah. What do you think about...
I like it because it has a double meaning as well that is really nice. So obviously we know the dragon's tears, but like also like shedding tears for the kingdom. Like it very much,
Yeah.
right? It's a Hyrule that's in a post-apocalyptic state. It's, you know, it makes like you can look at it. I mean, or you can be a dumbass and be like, "Is it Tears of the Kingdom?" I remember someone actually was thinking.
I remember that
before we
was
got
that was big on like Twitter and stuff when they first name dropped it. Because obviously there wasn't like
someone who said
like
it.
a Nintendo director voiceover guy saying it. It just shows up on the screen. Yeah. But yeah, I think Tears of the Kingdom's really nice. I like that it kind of continues the of the from Breath of the Wild. You know, kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like it. I think it's if they continued that, it'd be fine. What would they call it? Well, if we got a trilogy, what would it be?
So yeah,
Power.
It's got to be of the
Yiga. No.
Let's do it. Power of the Yiga.
I don't know. Yeah, something. I hear the thing. I genuinely like. I don't want you going full circle, kind of like what Tears of the Kingdom does with the Ouroboros. Going full circle to the first question of the podcast. Like genuinely, I think it would be cool to have a power trilogy. That was my initial theory early on before Nintendo was like, now we're moving on. We're done with Tears of the Kingdom. And honestly, before Tears of the Kingdom's hype really settled and everyone wanted to move on from it, I would like the idea of like, again, how Breath of the Wild signifies wisdom and blue and Chica and all that. Tears of the Kingdom signifies courage and green and, essentially exploring that concept. And then how cool would it be if we had one that signifies power and red and darkness, right?
I think I agree with you. I remember all the kind of ideas back in the day, like before Tears of the Kingdom's release, that maybe they were going to go for a trilogy. And yeah, it was kind of exciting, especially at the time. Whereas now I'm a little bit, everyone's in kind of the same boat. They just want to move on now. So
true.
Which I think that kind of is a good way to sum up our general opinions on Zelda sequels as a whole. Is we've always been most excited for Zelda when it's something completely new and completely fresh. So I think that's what both of us would prefer to see rather than direct sequels. But there's definitely interesting spots that they could place them, and it is interesting to talk about because it's I don't know, it's just fun to think about.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But I don't know, is there anything else you think we should cover, or think we're done for today?
I guess, we rambled quite a bit, Obviously, we're open to as many questions as possible. We'll try to cover as much as we can. Sometimes we focus a little too much on certain questions, but hopefully you enjoy the conversation. And again, let us know what you guys think of all the questions and everything in the comments below, because we love to hear your guys' opinions as well.
Yep. And be sure, if you've got any other questions, comments, email, Discord, they're the main ways to reach us. Any question at all, we'll eventually try and work our way through them. That's the plan anyway. So we appreciate all the comments, all the questions. Thank you all, everyone we featured today. Thank you so much for giving us questions, giving us things to talk about. And thank you all so much for watching, listening, whatever you did. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.